Caitlin Clark wasn't supposed to walk into Team USA camp and flip the entire depth chart upside down. Not after the Olympic snub. Not after the injury. Not after a season that ended before she could finish proving herself. But when the roster announcement finally dropped, the basketball world froze. Clark had earned a starting spot. Angel Reese, one of the most talked-about young stars in the league, would begin on the bench. And instantly, every rivalry storyline, every online debate, every moment of tension fans had been dissecting for years came roaring back to life. The December Duke training camp was meant to reset the board. Coaches said the doors were wide open, the positions were up for grabs, and no one was guaranteed anything. But what happened inside that gym didn't close the gap between Clark and Reese. It made it clearer, sharper, almost unavoidable. And depending on what part of the internet you live on, it either confirmed what people had been waiting for, or turned the rivalry into something bigger than basketball. Clark walked into camp with something nobody else had: the sting of being left out. Getting passed over for the 2024 Olympic roster became the moment her fans never forgot. But for Clark herself, it wasn't bitterness. It was fuel. Head coach Kara Lawson and managing director Sue Bird had been studying her progress ever since she entered the league. Not just the long-range shooting or the highlight passes everyone posts on TikTok. They were locked in on the stuff that doesn't go viral: decision-making, game control, the way she lifts teammates into new versions of themselves. That part mattered more than anything, because Clark stepped into camp still dealing with the aftershock of the groin injury that cut her WNBA season short. While others had full seasons of tape, Clark arrived with less recent footage and more pressure. But Lawson and Bird weren't looking at the missing months. They were looking at the leap she made before the injury ever happened. And the truth inside that gym became hard to ignore. Everyone saw the way she had transformed Indiana. Aaliyah Boston had always been a strong post presence, but playing next to Clark, she became a completely different type of threat. The pick and rolls turned into automatic advantages. Boston rolled harder, finished cleaner, moved like she knew Clark would get her the ball exactly where she wanted it. Kelsey Mitchell looked reborn too. She'd always been a scorer, but now she was getting cleaner looks, easier drives, smoother rhythm. Clark's gravity made defenses stretch in directions they weren't used to, and Indiana suddenly looked like they were building something real. Lexi Hull followed that pattern. A role player with flashes of potential became a consistent spark. Someone who hit open shots, defended multiple positions, and thrived in the space Clark created. For the Team USA staff, that was the signal. Clark didn't just play well, she made entire rosters better. Meanwhile, other players were fighting different battles. Angel Reese entered camp with her own expectations, her own strengths, and a very different skill set. But Team USA basketball isn't built on the same rules as college or the pros. The spacing changes. The reads get faster. Decisions compress into split seconds. Coaches weren't evaluating popularity or energy or personality. They were looking at system fit, who could execute the specific roles this roster needed. Reese's physicality and rebounding were clear assets, but the international game demands versatility, quick switches, clean rotations, more mid-range decision-making. And while she had stretches of strong play, she wasn't finding the same immediate rhythm Clark was building with the veterans and bigs. It wasn't a punishment. It wasn't personal. It was basketball. And that's where things get complicated, because basketball decisions don't stop fans from creating storylines of their own. Once the roster broke, the internet detonated. Fans immediately pulled up years' worth of clips, quotes, reactions, and viral moments involving Clark and Reese. Some fans framed it as a rivalry of pure competition. Two young stars racing toward the top of the league. Others saw tension. Others